Good morning, fellas. Welcome back to the channel. Give me a sec. We're going to get this stream rolling. Thank you guys for joining us. Don't forget to smack the like button on the way in. And we're going to get it started. What's up, Crypto Scotty? Welcome back, friend. Christophel, welcome. Good to see you as well. What a wild, wild day in the markets, folks. We sure do have a lot to talk about. Thank you guys for joining the live stream. Don't forget to tap the like on the way in. Subscribe to the channel if you are new. We're going to get started here in just a minute. Again, what a wild day for the crypto markets and the financial markets as a whole. We just witnessed a $19 billion crypto liquidation in less than 24 hours. One of the biggest crashes in crypto history. The entire market's bleeding red. And it all kicked off after those new U.S. trade tariffs on China sent shockwaves through Wall Street and straight into Bitcoin, Ethereum, and especially the altcoin space. Bitcoin is down hard, Ethereum broke key support, and altcoins like Solana, Dogecoin, and XRP are getting completely crushed. But that's okay. This morning we're diving into why the markets reacted this way, what these tariffs mean for global risk assets, and how this could shape the next major crypto move. So strap in, guys. In just a few minutes we're going to get this stream started. We're breaking down everything you need to know about this crash, the liquidations, and where the next big opportunity might be hiding once the dust settles. If you're in crypto right now, you need to understand what's really happening behind this $19 billion wipeout. All right, let's get into it.
Wow, this is incredible. Driving through the future.
All right, guys, welcome back to the channel. Again, it is good to see you all. Good morning, good evening, wherever you are viewing from. I hope you are doing well, and I hope that you are coping decently with this crypto market turmoil and everything that we have seen take place within the past 24 to 48 hours. Now, let's get into it. We do have a lot to talk about today. So let's first go ahead and talk about how the world and the rest of the market is reacting to what we've seen take place yesterday. Now, again, I have my views and my opinions on this, right? I have my thoughts. And of course, with that being said, these are just my thoughts and just my opinions only. Please read the disclaimers. And with that being said, let's get right into it. Guys, obviously, we know what has taken place here, but how far does it extend? How deep does it go? How much pain is going to be enough pain, right? How much pain is going to be enough pain? That is a very good question for us here. As crypto traders, crypto investors, crypto holders, Bitcoin holders, Bitcoin, honestly, as far as a safe haven asset goes, Bitcoin absolutely is the safe haven when it comes to anything to do with cryptocurrency. obviously, Bitcoin took the lightest hit, and altcoins, especially meme coins, coins like Dogecoin, taking the biggest hit of all. We will get into the charts later on into the stream. But first, let's talk about what is going on today, this morning. How are the talking heads reacting to all of this, right? What is going on? And first, of course, let's just break down and talk about here and listen in on everything that led up to this market crash, everything that led up to what happened, and why our altcoins got hit the hardest, right? First, I have a couple of articles pulled up, and then I also have a couple of clips here for us to take a look at. And then I will get into the chat with you guys here in just a second, and also I will get into the charts, guys. That'll be, of course, the juicy meat of the stream, guys. We'll be getting into the price action, of course. I'm a TA guy, so we're going to be doing some TA. But first, let's listen in here on a couple of these that I have planned for you guys here. We're going to talk about exactly what to expect going forward from this crash, what we should be looking at and paying attention to as far as the price action goes with your altcoins. And let's talk about it in the chat here in just a second with you guys. Did you hodl through the pain? Are you still hodling through the pain? What is the name of your game? How are you playing these market moves, right? We will get into the chat and talk to you guys here in just a second about that. First, let's listen in here on a few things and take away from it what we can and see how we feel about it. And see if we are in the category of buying the fear, or if we are just too fearful ourselves to even think about buying right now. Where are you guys at? Let me know in the chat. I will be responding to you guys. And, of course, if you're watching the replay, I will be in the comment section. So leave a comment, drop a comment, and let us know what you think and what you're doing to navigate this crypto market crash. Now, Trump imposing these 100% tariffs on China. In addition to existing tariffs, responding to China's escalation of export restrictions on rare earths. Now, this is something to take into consideration, right? This is something that we should be paying attention to. Let's listen in here.
Courtesy of Fox's Jackie Heinrich saying, breaking, Trump imposes 100% tariff on China. In addition to existing tariffs, responding to China's escalation of export restrictions on rare earths. POTUS says it takes effect 11/1, which is November 1st, or quote, maybe sooner. I want to put up this as well on your screen there because the president did speak about this on his Truth Social post. I have the post in full as well here, but the White House also put this up, saying that a piece of that saying it is, quote, impossible to believe that China would have taken such an action, but they have, and the rest is history. Let's read out this full statement, though, so you're able to understand what the president has just released in the last few minutes. He says, it has just been learned that China has taken an extraordinarily aggressive position on trade and sending an extremely hostile letter to the world stating that they were going to, effective November 1st, 2025, impose large-scale export controls on virtually every product they make, and some not even made by them. This affects all countries without exception and was obviously a plan devised by them years ago. It is an absolutely unheard of in international trade and a moral disgrace in dealing with other nations, based on the fact that China has taken this unprecedented position. And speaking only for the USA and not other nations who were similarly threatened starting November 1st, 2025, or sooner, depending on any further actions or changes taken by China, the United States of America will impose a tariff of 100% on China over and above any tariff that they are currently paying. Also on November 1st, we will impose export controls on any and all critical software. It is impossible to believe that China would have taken such an action, but they have, and the rest is history. Thank you for your attention to this matter. And so those are the words there from President Trump. Of course, we know that the president has met several times with China's President Xi Jinping, putting this up on your screen as well. And so the Associated Press has just put out this article as well, talking about these newly imposed tariffs, saying that the president said that he's placing an additional 100% tariff on Chinese imports starting November 1st or sooner. If President Trump is to go ahead with it, The move would push tariff rates close to levels that in April fanned fears of a steep recession and a financial market chaos. Trump, of course, did make that announcement, as we just read, on his Truth Social site. The president, of course, we know, has made some of these threats before in the past, as the Associated Press is reporting, so we will see if this one will go through. But ultimately, a little bit earlier today, we did hear that President Trump suggested calling off his upcoming meeting with the Chinese president, Xi Jinping. Trump said that there seems to be no reason, quote, to meet with the Chinese leader as a part of an upcoming trip to South Korea after China has restricted exports of rare earths needed for American industry. President Trump has suggested that he was looking at a, quote, massive increase of import taxes on Chinese products in response to Xi's moves. We now know that that is this new 100% tariff that's been announced on some of their imports. And so I want to put that Truth Social post back up on the screen there as well for you. That's it in full there from the president, the message saying that in response to one of the moves that China has since made, the U.S. starting November 1st, 2025 or sooner, the United States of America will be imposing a tariff of 100% on China over and above any tariff that they are currently paying. And so we'll continue to watch that as it unfolds here on Live Now from Fox if any more details are brought to us.
If you eat but
Okay, guys. So I just want to talk about one thing. That was an article or a news clipping there from Live Now from Fox. And, you know, I want to say one thing about that. You know, I get it. I do. I get it. Let me fix my price ticker I had down here at the bottom of the screen for you guys real quick. If I can here. Okay, there we go. We got the crypto prices back on the lower bottom of the screen there. Sorry, I don't know what happened with that. But I just want to say one thing really quickly about Trump's decision here. Okay, and I want to know what y'all's feedback is in the chat. So I would love to know and hear what you guys think about this opinion. Now, I totally understand what Trump is doing here. I totally get the motive behind the tariffs, and I understand the reasoning. I do. Why should we allow, or I should say, why should we allow or continue to allow the Chinese government to undermine us and basically leverage themselves over the U.S.? You know, I mean, at some point, and you know, Trump even admitted it himself that it's going to be a painful measure, but in the long term be a good measure for the future of the United States of America. Now, while I am completely on board with a lot of people's opinions with my country, right? And I know that a lot of people viewing my channel are not from the U.S. There's a lot that most of you guys are from the U.S., but there are quite a few that are not from the U.S. that view my channel. And a lot of countries, or a lot of people from other countries outside of the U.S., obviously have strong opinions about our country. Now, I agree with a lot of these opinions. I do. I actually do agree with the fact that our country has done some very bad things. I will get into the chat here in just a second. Greenfingers, good to see you. Deadwood, good to see you. Good morning. I understand, man. I understand our country in the past and present and probably in the future has done, will do, but bad things, man. Things that most of the United States population don't agree with. Most of the people in the U.S. are right there with you guys that are overseas. But I do believe that what Trump is doing is good, not just for the U.S., but it is good for, global trade, and the fact that we have China being the I don't know how to put it, the leader, right? And I mean, if you think about it, everything is made in China. At some point, and yes, it will be a painful transition, but at some point, if the U.S. is going to remain a global superpower for years and decades to come, if granted that we are still around for years and decades to come, thank you, Lord. But if we are going to remain a global superpower, we cannot allow this to continue. And so I do believe that is what Trump's goal here and his intentions are with this. And I do think that it's a good thing. Now, obviously, short term, a very painful measure, a very terrible thing to for your altcoins, for your portfolio. And this is the time when we should probably be touching grass the most, guys. It is the weekend. Happy Saturday, by the way. This is the time we should be out touching grass. Maybe you want to even go hug a tree, and I'm not going to judge you at all. If you would like to go hug a tree and it makes you feel better right now, by all means, go hug a tree. Anyways, let's get back into it. I just had to give you guys my opinion on what Trump's motive is here and the reasoning behind this broad move to impose 100% tariffs on Chinese imports. I do agree. And I do understand, while at the same time hating the effects of it, right? Hating and loving. It's a love-hate relationship when it comes to dips and corrections like this. These types of corrections and crashes, we might say, are a little more intense than the typical market corrections we've seen so far, right? Now, here's an article from Bloomberg, and then we will move on. I have a couple of more of things, including this clip from Fox News, where Trump answers some questions. So we'll get into that, and then we will move on into the charts, the price action, and I'll get into the chat with you guys as well. By the way, thank you guys for being here. Don't forget to smash the like button if you haven't yet. My browser is freezing up on me. Guys, I apologize. Give me a second. I have too many tabs open. Oh, okay. I think we are back.
From the White House, the president kicking off a day of market turmoil in a lengthy social post aimed at Chinese President Xi, and doubling down just moments ago before we came to air in a new Truth Social post, saying, quote, starting November 1st, the United States of America will impose a 100% tariff on China over and above any tariff they are currently paying. That doubling down coming just 6 hours after the president threatened a, quote, massive increase of tariffs on Chinese products coming into the U.S., while adding, quote, I was to meet President Xi in 2 weeks at APEC in South Korea. But now there seems to be no reason to do so. The post rocked markets, marking the worst day coming in a month, coming as the president convenes a White House event on drug pricing set to take place just moments from now. We're going to have eyes on this, touting a deal with pharma giant AstraZeneca that could see drug prices heading lower. We've got that and a lot more with Bloomberg's Kevin Whitelaw here with me now in Washington. I want to start with you on what we just heard from China. We thought maybe this was some bluster, maybe a taco trade underway on Wall Street. The market certainly took it seriously, and now 100% tariff. If that's over and beyond anything else that China is already paying, does that immediately sever our economic relationship?
I mean, it's sort of hard to understand how that actually works in practice, given how reliant the U.S. is on China for a whole wide range of goods and across basically a whole number of different sectors.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's clearly a very serious threat if he follows through with it. And it seems to be a reaction to a letter we still really haven't seen from China, which appears to be talking about some kind of export controls that they plan to impose on a lot of goods. So, it seems that he is amping up very seriously to try to head this off and to try to not have it take place. So there's a bit of a question about how can he actually follow through on this kind of threat? Is that even plausible? And what would that mean? It's not really clear how that works. We've seen him do this before. You threaten, and then you walk back to sort of where the ground, where you started from.
This feels like a little more than a threat, since this would take effect before the meeting, right? So should we assume this meeting is canceled or on the rocks? How would we describe it?
I mean, I would say that he said he didn't see a reason to meet. Yeah. And obviously what he's trying to say is take away whatever you just threatened, and then we'll get back and have a conversation. So on some level, he's trying to put the ball in China's court right now, and they need to decide whether they want to actually have this fight and have this escalation and have this level of break or not. But I do think you watched the markets today wake up once again to the fact that this trade war is real, it is happening, and it's just a question of to what.
And while we had a truce with China, we don't have a deal, which is pretty interesting to consider what might happen next in this case. These are obviously the world's two biggest economies. Bloomberg's Kevin Whitelaw in Washington. Kevin, thank you so much. After the president's post this morning, flaring trade tensions between the U.S. and China sent shockwaves, as you've been hearing, across markets. You may have felt that yourself, hammering stocks, oil, crypto, and more, while spurring a dash for the perceived safety of treasuries and gold. Here's how analysts on Bloomberg were watching today's movement unfold.
When you love your bearskin heavy...
Oh, this guy's face. Look, I did not mean to do this, but I'm just going to tell you right now, this is all of us, okay? I didn't mean to do this. I'm just trying to get past this little ad right here. But this guy's face on this commercial is the epitome of all altcoin holders at the current moment. I mean, that is us, bro. That's us right there. Okay? You can't tell me it's not. But anyways, let's get past this and move on. But that is us right there, guys. That is us, bro.
And uncertainty is bad news for the whole space.
You will bring back a lot more volatility into the markets. I think there will be concerns on both sides, both countries linked to China and Chinese exports.
If you ask me, I think there's some short-term leverage game playing here, but there's also long-term game playing by the Chinese.
Let's turn now to power moves with Bloomberg's Katie Greifeld, who joins us from World Headquarters in New York. Things changed pretty quick this morning, Katie, and they don't seem to be getting any better after the bell.
No, not at all. Kevin makes a good point that markets and traders are paying attention. We have the after hours board behind me of what's going on in an S&P 500 ETF and a NASDAQ 100 ETF. You can see for the S&P 500 down another 0.7%. The Q's down about 0.6%. And this is pretty noteworthy given that it was such a brutal normal cash trading session. If you take a look at how the S&P 500 performed, down about 2.7% in normal trading. Even worse for the NASDAQ 100, down 3.5%. That's where all of those chip makers live. You can see that in the Philadelphia semiconductors.
Bro, if these people seen our altcoin holdings right now... Oh, see, this is why cryptocurrency is just not for the average, Wall Street or stock or, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, I mean, we literally watched altcoins like lose 70% of their current value from recent highs. If these people understood the pain, the true pain. They don't know what pain is, bro. And now I understand. Obviously, the S&P 500 dropping 2% is a big deal. It's not the same as an altcoin, of course, but still, you guys get the point.
index as well. For the S&P 500, for the NASDAQ 100, this was the worst single-day performance in 6 months since actually those tariff ructions in April. So sort of a round-trip moment here. But what the good news is that your traditional hedges did work pretty well today, Joe. If you take a look at how bond markets reacted, you saw Treasury yields on the long end of the Treasury curve moving sharply lower, now down almost 11 basis points. So traders really piling into Treasuries, as you say. You can see also that gold got another bid. We know that the yellow metal has been on a record tear. It continued today, gold moving about 1% higher as volatility really came back in a big way into the equity market. You take a look at the VIX behind me, trading with a 21 handle. It's up 5 vol points right now. It's not too often that you see a move like that, but I do want to highlight some of the moves that we saw in aggregate.
This is a big deal to note, right? Big deal to note. I have to say it, man. And I'm not a crypto maxi. Well, I take that back. I'm not a Bitcoin maxi, but I am sort of a crypto maxi. Since I'm all in on crypto, right? But I will say one thing. I may not buy stocks. I think I would buy gold, man. If you're not holding gold, I think if you are into Bitcoin, I just think you should automatically be into gold as well. And of course, gold being the real, I can't help it, man. I've got to say it. Gold being the real safe haven asset. Gold or Zcash, bro, gold or Zcash. Am I wrong?
Agricultures in commodities as well. We know that soybeans have been a big issue here when it comes to whether or not the Chinese are going to start buying American soybeans again. That is one of the
This right here may not seem like a lot to some people, but for those of you out there that actually have a farm or, you know, are leasing out your farm to farmers and you're getting a cut on those soybeans or corn or whatever it might be. I mean, this is a big deal for a lot of people. Now, me, myself, I don't have a soybean farm, but I have family that does, you know, and this is all a big deal. Everything that's happening right now is, gosh, it's not that good, obviously. But again, the motto is, and it still is, and it still stands, buy the fear, sell the greed. I do feel like what we've seen happen was we sold the greed. The greed was sold.
Non-tariff issues that's being discussed, soybean futures coming down pretty sharply after we got that initial Truth Social post from the president. Copper, too, down today. So it had been in buy everything rally, Joe, but certainly anything with any sort of a risk profile was sold off on the day.
Boy, isn't that right? Great readout from Bloomberg's Katie Greifeld. Thank you, Katie, so much. Joining us now with her insights on the Trump-Xi relationship and the economic ties between our two countries. Mary Lovely, senior fellow at the Peterson Institute of International Economics, an expert on U.S.-China relations. It's great to see you.
Okay, let's listen in here, see what she has to say real quick. We will be jumping into the charts here, guys. All I'm asking is you stick around for about 5 minutes of your time, and we will dive in to the price action here and get some analysis on what to expect next. And we have to keep in mind the technicals. I still am a TA guy. I always believe in TA. Show me the charts. I'll tell you the news. But in times like these, we have to be extremely cautious with what we are looking at in the charts, right? We'll talk about that here in a second.
The first call we made when we heard about this, Mary, I'm not sure how you're reading this because President Trump, as we've established already, is known for bluster, certainly before a meeting. The markets, though, think they just got a big reality check. Now, suddenly we do care about trade with China. Do you see this as the actual decoupling that we've been talking about?
I don't think it's the actual decoupling, but I think some of us have been a bit mystified as to why the markets have been so sanguine all along. Many of the deals, even with our allies, are still basically unsettled. And we've been expecting this one to not just be a smooth ride to, you know, happiness with some lower level of tariffs. So it was a very precipitous, but not entirely unexpected.
So we haven't heard, as far as I know, anything formal in response from Beijing to the post this morning or now this 100% tariff move. Do you suspect that the meeting is as good as canceled now, or does this draw President Xi to talks with Trump?
Well, obviously, we're seeing tit for tat in a different way. During Trump 1 with the trade war, we saw tit for tariff on tariff rates.
Yep.
Now we're seeing a whole host of commercial relations being put to the test. You know, the U.S. has fees on ships, Chinese ships that land on U.S. ports. China has now
Just
fees
like
on
that.
American chips. We have export controls. They have export controls. We have tariffs. They have tariffs. We have placed a number of their companies on entity lists. American companies can't do business with them except with certain permissions. China has done the same. So I think China has learned how to play this game, and President Trump knows that. He has said himself that he thinks the U.S. has 3 times, the firepower that the Chinese do. Many people don't think that's true, not in the short run at least. We haven't really prepared for this. We're still dependent on China in many areas. And the Chinese here are speaking with their policies, not through their PR people.
Boy, it's pretty remarkable, the list that you just ticked through. You add now inspectors fanning out at ports across China to make sure that NVIDIA chips are not getting into the country. Are both sides just trying to tenderize each other ahead of talks? Or are we moving further apart, I guess is the question.
So some analysts have been painting this as kind of, trying to each side trying to get a little bit more firepower going into the negotiations.
Yep.
I think that is true, but I think there's a whole lot more here at stake, Joe. I think that the national security concerns and the segment of the administration and the previous administration that really wanted to see reliance on China for particularly critical minerals reduced quickly, and seeing a whole host of relations with China severed. And the Chinese don't like that. They wanted to see export controls reduced, not increased. They wanted to see investment in the United States eased, not made more difficult. And they're signaling that pretty clearly with this. So the national security issues here, I think, are really coming to the fore. Unfortunately, in the U.S., we don't have any clarity on how this struggle within is going to work out. So we have the bilateral, and then we have what's going on inside the United States.
I want to ask you about something in that very long missive from the president on Truth Social this morning. More than 500 words. Right in the middle of it, he refers to peace in the Middle East. The timing of these letters on rare earths going out. He says the letters were especially inappropriate, and this was the day that after 3,000 years of bedlam and fighting, there is peace in the Middle East. I wonder if that timing was coincidental. What did he mean by that?
I think that President Trump is getting ready to take a victory lap, and he certainly doesn't
that's all it was. That
want
was
any rain on his parade.
Why did you do it today? And he didn't get the Nobel Peace Prize. So that was his mood when he wrote this morning.
Yeah, well, you can never say that the Chinese didn't do it to rain on the parade, but I think that, we have been watching this for a long time, Joe, and and having this conversation. So I think the timing may have been there, but clearly this is a long-standing issue. It's something that's very important to American businesses and Chinese businesses. And unfortunately, today was a dark day for us.
We are still technically in a trade truce, right? That's got a couple of more weeks on it when we remember the talks that took place overseas. Whatever happened to getting a 15% cut of NVIDIA and AMD sales to China? I thought we were on the verge of something.
Well, all of this has come up again, investment promises in the U.S., and we don't really have anything on paper. We don't have, the deals are not in place. And I think this is what's keeping uncertainty in the markets so high. A lot of people are saying that economists have underestimated the agility of American markets. I don't think we have at all. I think that what we have been warning about, and is true, is that uncertainty makes it so difficult for firms to plan and to work around whatever it is that the government ends up doing. If President Trump goes through with 100% tariffs, and at the Peterson Institute we're estimating that the average tariff on China is about 50% already. So you can imagine 150%.
Yeah.
You are going to see, we talked in the earlier about, is it an end to trade? Yeah. We're already seeing enormous amounts of avoidance and evasion. And so it's just going to send these supply chains into real adaptation move with a lot of things happening that we really don't want to see in the global economy.
Are our West Coast ports about to go quiet again?
This would be devastating for the ports. Very, very big hit to the ports, and a lot of workers at those ports in warehousing and trucking and rail.
Just in time for the holidays. Mary, it's great to see you. Thanks for joining us. Mary Lovely,
You're
Senior
welcome.
Fellow at the Peterson Institute of International Economics, with us in studio this evening. We'll have more on this story and the permanent layoffs that have begun to hit Washington when Democratic Congresswoman in a few moments. But
all right, guys, we're going to quickly recap a little bit of this, and then, of course,
action live from.
I'm going to bounce right back into this. We have former Chief of Staff to Vice President Mike Pence talking about Trump-China tariff strategies. So we will get into that. I am going to be diving into the price action here in just a second, and we will be talking about what to expect going forward with the price of Bitcoin, what is going to happen to Solana now that we have dropped down to around $180. Should we be expecting Ethereum to go even lower at this point? And what about Dogecoin? What can we expect for Dogecoin after it has dropped to 9.5 cents? So we will be jumping into the price action here in just a moment, guys. So stick around. Do not go anywhere. You do not want to miss the TA coming up. And we will be talking about it in the chat. I'll be doing some Q&A and talking to you guys here in just a moment.
New York is Mark Short, the former Chief of Staff to Vice President Mike Pence, Republican strategist and former congressional liaison in the first Trump administration. Mark, it's always great to have you. I want your take on the shutdown because I know this is very much in your wheelhouse, but this China news just rocked the markets not once but twice today. First, a Truth Social post this morning. Now the president doubling down with a 100% tariff and new export controls that will come with it. Do you take him at his word here? And is the meeting with Xi as good as canceled?
I don't know that it's canceled, Joe. I think that the president does this from a negotiation standpoint before the meeting to try to make a point. But I confess I also don't think that the trade policy toward China has been going well. I do think, as you and I have discussed before, that I think the first administration for President Trump was very focused on isolating China and rallying much of the global world as well as developed economies in Asia against China. I think with a haphazard tariff policy on all friend and foe alike, it has not isolated China. And right now, what you've seen so far of this administration in 9 months, despite the saber rattling, is China getting a huge win on TikTok when, that was law of the land, the Supreme Court confirmed. And
he just brought up something that I am just blown away by, that I've totally forgot about happening, guys. And I don't know about you all, but whatever happened to the TikTok ban? How many times have things like this happened and we overlook it? Some things are just so strategic that you have to just admit to yourself sometimes that the possibility of something being a conspiracy is almost always more likely to be true than not to be true. At least in today's day and age, it is. What a time to be alive.
And China gets to maintain the algorithm, sowing discontent among TikTok users across America. They've gotten an agreement to allow sales of NVIDIA chips into China. They've basically created a lot of consternation for the president among his base in the agricultural belt of America. Those who are no longer getting purchases from China, their agricultural products. And so in a lot of ways, China's had the upper hand in the first 9 months. And I assume that the administration is pretty frustrated with that. But I don't think this means that it's over. I think that it means that this is the president trying to stake out a position before a meeting.
This charger actually repairs your...
All right, guys. So, again, I apologize for these ads.
Well, the deal, even as
I would love to bounce around in the chat on y'all's opinions and thoughts on this. Are we going into a major financial crisis? Or is everything that's taking place a strategic measure for those that are looking and those that were able to capitalize on this crash? And will those be the ones that push us back into bullish territory. Let me know what you guys think in the chat.
As Wall Street tips over?
I mean, yes, I think this is consistent with what the president will often do. Like he'll often send out people, before he's looking to make a deal to go make more noise about some of the protectionists in his administration, often on the airwaves to do that. I think in this case he's taking to Twitter himself, but again, I don't think that it's been successful in the first 9 months. I do think the first administration was far more successful in rallying the globe against China. I feel like the second administration policy has not been as consistent, and I think that so far China's had the upper hand.
I'd love to ask you what's going on, not only on Capitol Hill, but elsewhere in the White House as the director of OMB, Russ Vought, makes good on the threat. He was, of course, portrayed in an AI video that the president posted as the Grim Reaper a couple days ago, and I suspect there are some federal employees who are referring to him as such this evening. The rifts have begun. We know thousands, Mark. We don't have...
Okay, let's go on here to Haley Stevens, Democrat of Michigan, it looks like, states Trump's tariff policy is wild and erratic. So let's get an opposing view here, and let's see how we feel about this.
Power. Joining us now for more, Democratic Congresswoman Haley Stevens of Michigan. She is co-chair of the Congressional Hostage Task Force and also a member of the China Select Committee. And Congresswoman, it's good to see you. It's been a minute. Welcome back to Bloomberg TV and radio. I will warn you in advance that we are expecting to hear some remarks from the president in the Oval Office, and I hope to not have to interrupt our conversation. But I'd like to start with you on matters involving China, central to your role on the China Select Committee. 100% additional tariff. Is this bluster or the end of our economic relationship?
Well, I'll say this. I introduced legislation that I call Unearth America's Future Act. It's legislation based off the CHIPS and Science Act to bring processing and refining of critical minerals and rare earth elements here to the United States of America. This is a major component of our supply chain, and yet we ceded all the ground to China, and we're very dependent on them. And so Donald Trump's approach isn't going to totally get us out of it. The wild, chaotic, erratic tariffs that just react to everything. We had 55 tariff announcements in 100 days, which are also causing our prices to just rise on everyday goods, including groceries, which is also why I wrote a bill called No Tariffs on Groceries Act. So I'd really like for us to consider my legislation on critical minerals. I think it's a good opportunity and a good time, even though I'm in the minority party, for us to do and get back to real industrial policy.
It's interesting that you mention critical minerals. Rare earths are such an important part of the story today. This is, of course, what prompted President Trump's response to China. One of the stocks today that actually rallied, one of the biggest gainers on Wall Street, was a company called MP Materials, which the Pentagon, the government, recently took a stake in the name of national security. Congresswoman, do we need more deals like this?
Well, I don't trade stock, and I never have as an elected official. But I would
in terms of a government stake in these companies, I mean.
Well, public-private partnerships have got some opportunity for us, and certainly as someone who served as chief of staff on the U.S. Auto Rescue, we did take a stake in these companies during their downturn, and we didn't control the day-to-day management of them. When I look at big tech and big AI companies, there's questions around why, particularly for artificial intelligence, some of the big dogs in the room haven't gone public. And there's also public goods that get utilized. We're going to start seeing larger fights over data centers. There's obviously a lot of money surrounding that. Here in Michigan, our hydropower capabilities are going to come into question. And yet we also have very old water pipes in my state. And who's going to pay for the fixing of 100-year-old pipes? I don't want to saddle my consumers with that. So some of those public-private partnerships could be interesting arrangements. I certainly support loan guarantees and tax credits and the like, and a reawakening of American industry in places where we've ceded ground to China. In the rare earth space, 95%, is being sent over there in some cases. The processing and refining that's taking place over there, that's inexcusable. we've got people who want to access those jobs and to have lower cost, and we shouldn't be wholly reliant on China.
Congresswoman, let's talk shutdown for a moment. We're 10 days in. The House is not in session, though I know a lot of lawmakers have chosen to stay here, I guess presumably in case there's something about to happen. I'm sure you have very serious thoughts about this. It's also worth noting that you're running for Senate, and that's where this story lies at the moment. Would you consider, as a Democrat, if you were in the Senate now, if you actually win this election, would this be a time to join the other 3 Democrats in voting to reopen the government?
Look, I've done my part in the House, and I did vote alongside the people of Michigan and their pocketbooks. I'll be very clear with you. We are in a healthcare crisis, and the responsibility of this moment is with the governing party. And what they are not doing is working in a very reasonable way with the other side of the aisle to keep the government funded. And the people who are paying the price are Michiganders. And I see this everywhere I go. The rising costs of food, that is, grocery bills that are going on credit cards, 700,000 Michiganders who are going to lose their health care when these Medicaid cuts go into effect, and notices that were given in the summer from this tax bill to Michiganders about their health care coverage and their benefits. And look, it's not acceptable. People can't afford more.
Do you need a promise for a vote or an actual deal with a timeline on the extension of Obamacare subsidies to warm up to the CR?
This is not how we should be negotiating. Clearly, this extenuating circumstance, and your previous speaker also just admitted that the Democrats are making a point, and
let's go ahead and jump forward just a little bit here and see what this political panel has to say on if Trump's China tariff is a negotiation tactic, and will the stock market change Trump's response?
Joining us now with more on both this evening's political panel, Bloomberg Politics contributors Rick Davis, partner at Stone Court Capital, our Republican strategist, and Democratic analyst Jeannie Shanzano, democracy visiting fellow at Harvard Kennedy School's Ash Center. It's great to have you both here. Rick, I don't know what we make of the timing on all of this, but just before the president heads to the Middle East, 100% tariffs. We're asking questions like, is this the end of our economic relationship with China? Or is this art of the deal? Is this the latest taco trade? How do we look at it?
Could be all those things.
Okay.
You never underestimate what's going to happen at the White House these days.
Yeah.
He made good this afternoon, doubled down on the threats that he made earlier this morning that rocked the market so badly.
Yep.
I think that you can anticipate at least this being a negotiating tactic for a potential meeting in South Korea later this month. But the reality is he's made threats like this before against China. Mm-hmm. He's not fully implemented them. They've been a part of a negotiation that seems to have broken down, and which is our only conclusion based on the current statements by the president. And the question is, can it all be put back together?
Right.
Unlikely, because I think this administration is embarking upon a strategy of trying to isolate China and push back on the limitations that China's putting on our technology access.
That's right. Well, it has been quite a tit for tat here, Jeannie. And I'm curious your thoughts on what comes next here with clearly either a trade war or the end of a trade relationship. And unless this is some sort of bluster, Wall Street is not taking it that way. And we know how the president feels about the stock market. He's been referring to its action quite a bit recently when he says that America is the hottest country in the world. If we get a big flush out, say on Monday, in response to this story, will that change his tune?
I'm not sure how he'll respond to that, but I do think this is concerning. I think I'm more concerned about the president's response because what China did was not at all surprising. Just a few days ago, you had members of the U.S. Senate and members of Congress talking about imposing more regulations on China. They responded in kind, and their regulations are not set to go into fruition until November. It was clearly an attempt on their part to try to gain some leverage in these talks. And as opposed to responding in kind, the president has this bizarre truth social that ran on, and this imposition of these 100% tariffs. It just doesn't seem like a sound way to respond to something from Beijing that was not at all surprising, and in fact mimicked to a good extent what the United States has done to China already. And so that is my concern. And of course, the market is right to respond in the way they did. And hopefully this is the president's blustering as he goes in for leverage on the talks. But my concern is that the talks are held and they are productive.
Let's turn to the layoffs here, the three scary words in Washington.
All right, guys. So, again, we are going to be diving into the price action here in just a moment. And, you know, I agree. I totally agree. The news is boring. It is. It's always the same thing over and over and over again. And the old saying is, show me the charts, I'll tell you the news. And I still fully 100% agree with this old saying, you know. It is still the way. It is still the way of the crypto trader. It is still the way of the trader mindset. You know, we have to pay attention to the news. We have to pay attention to the price action. We have to pay attention to all of it, of course. But in times like these, I feel it is important to absolutely pay close attention to what is being done. And while the talking heads will talk your head off, you know, by the time you're done listening to them, yeah, a lot can happen. A lot can happen, as we've seen here. A lot can happen in just a matter of minutes. In a matter of a couple of hours, a lot can happen. A lot can change. The market can crash. But with all of this going on, it is important for us to stay grounded here and zoom out, right? It is always important for us to zoom out. Times like these especially, we cannot sit here and stay focused on the short term in times like these, or we will 100% lose our minds. Guys, thank you for joining us. Thank you for being here on this beautiful Saturday. And by beautiful, I do not mean your crypto portfolio, of course. But by beautiful, I mean, I don't know where you guys are at, but it is a beautiful day. And this is an off-topic thing right now, but I don't know if you guys have noticed, but we've had over where I'm at, we've had about a week or 2 weeks of absolutely beautiful, clear, sunshiny days. Like, what happened to all the, I don't know. We won't go there, right? We won't get into the conspiracies. But anyways, right now, the market getting completely just decimated. Altcoins, many altcoins right now, actually just going to complete trash, man. You know, let me know, you guys, what your stance is right now, how you're feeling. Are you okay? You know, we're going to make it. We are absolutely going to make it 100%. We're going to get into the chat, and we're going to talk to you guys here in a minute. We're going to do some TA. I just wanted to kind of check on all these altcoins real quick. Caspa down 17%. Litecoin down 23%. Cardano down 16%. Dogecoin still down 18% here. Dogecoin really got hit hard. I was watching Dogecoin specifically during the crash, and Dogecoin just got hit terribly hard here. I I was looking for the coins that are, doing well. So Meme Core up 13%, Zcash up 16%. Zcash right now. Guys, should we have all been buying Zcash? Maybe so. Maybe we should have all been buying Zcash. But again, it is important to zoom out. Bitcoin right now, we are at $111,000, $111,000 right now. Looks like 111 on Binance. And, this is a big deal too. The exchanges obviously are going to always, it's like the casino, man. The house always wins. And in crypto, the house are the exchanges, right? We cannot deny this fact. And your best bet is obviously to only put on the exchanges what you are willing to lose, of course. Only put on an exchange, especially if you're using exchanges. And guys, I'm partnered with exchanges. If you want to, you can get a massive deposit bonus right now if you sign up for my link for BidFi, right? We do have a massive bonus going on right now. And again, I'm partnered with exchanges, but I cannot deny the fact that in cryptocurrency, in crypto trading, the house is the exchange. Just like when you're at the casino, the house always wins, right? I mean, granted, you can leverage yourself if you are good with numbers, but when it comes to just slots, even things like roulette, right? The house is going to win. Typically, the house is going to win. But in this case, guys, like I said, I'm partnered with exchanges, so obviously I support cryptocurrency trading exchanges, leverage trading exchanges, but at the same time, I'm not going to ignore the fact that the house always wins. So, that's my opinion on things. If you would like to get this deposit bonus, you can get up to $1,000 deposit bonus. And, what better time to get some free USDT? Obviously you do have to deposit to get this bonus, but even if you just deposit $100, you get an extra 60, and do what you want with that. If you want to deposit the 100 and then, you can trade with the 60, whatever you want to do. But, again, invest, trade, hodl at your own risk. I'm not a financial advisor, but, this is a good opportunity and a good thing that we are offering to our community here through BidFi and our recent partnership. Shout out to BidFi and my associate there with this exchange. My associate with BidFi has actually worked with me very closely. I mean, very closely. So closely that if you are a whale trader, we can get in touch. We will take your user ID. We will get you lifetime VIP 5. So shout out to BidFi. Don't forget to check out this. Links are in the description. Link is in the pinned chat. I can also go ahead and drop this for you right here in the chat. And then I'm going to jump in the chat with you guys because I do want to do some Q&A and just kind of talk to you guys and see what's going on. And see how you guys are feeling today and how are we handling this? How are we handling this, guys? How are we handling this? And of course, when you sign up, when you click the link, it should pop up something like this, and you will be able to sign up easily. BidFi is super easy. You can even use Google, Apple, or even Telegram to sign up. So, it's so simple. A 1 or 2 clicks, you are signed up, ready to get this deposit bonus. So definitely don't skip out on that. I'll go ahead and drop that link right there for you guys. And again, even if you only deposit $100, right? Even if you only deposit $100, you still get an extra $60 bonus. That's deposit $500, get a $100 bonus. That's actually a very good odd there. A very good margin there. You're the 100 actually really, guys, the $100 deposit is your best bet. Right? Think about it. You put $100 in and you're getting over 50% of that in a bonus. So really that's a good bet right there. Now, on to the business at hand. Again, I know the news is boring, but we have to pay attention to it. couple of more items in the news, and we will be doing some Q&A and charts.
Trump later said he was raising tariffs on Chinese exports to the U.S. to 100% and imposing export controls on any and all critical software in response to China's recently announced export limits on rare earth minerals. China produces over 90% of the world's processed rare earths and rare earth magnets, which are critical for products ranging from electric vehicles and aircraft engines to military radars. Renewed tensions between the two largest global economies could trigger major supply chain disruptions. Stocks on the move included U.S.-listed shares of Chinese companies, including Alibaba, which plunged 8.5%. And Qualcomm declined 7% after China's market regulator said the country had launched an antitrust investigation into the semiconductor manufacturer over its acquisition of Israel's Autotalks.
It's Japan and China is the point there. Here's the headline this morning. First headline, I look like, Joe, you weren't up yet. You weren't up. Here's the first headline.
I was too up. This is the wrong one here.
I'm a little nervous because I have no clue what's about to happen, but this could either be a total disaster or the world's greatest magic trick. Okay, so this little device right here is called the Pet Gentle, and people say it's like having a remote control for your...
Bro, what? Here we go. Apologize for that, fellas. That was the wrong clip there. Here we go. Let's take a look at this Fox News clip here where we get a little bit of clarification from Trump himself on what exactly is going on here.
Set to put in new export controls on rare earth minerals, and they've stopped buying soybeans from the U.S. What do you hope to get out of that meeting now with President Xi?
Well, we'll see. We import from China massive amounts, and maybe we'll have to stop doing that. But I don't know exactly what it is. Neither do you. Neither does anybody. It's a little bit soon.
Now there's a threat possibly of 100% tariffs on China and maybe not meeting with Chinese President Xi Jinping at APEC. Joining us tonight to talk about tariffs, trade, and China is U.S. Trade Representative Jameson Greer. Mr. Ambassador, thanks for coming on. What's the status tonight with the U.S. and China and trade?
Well, Brett, you've seen the president's truths today. I've been there with him throughout the day, working with him on a response. What the Chinese have done, in short, is in the past couple of days, they've ordered the entire world that they have to submit for approval and permission by the Chinese government to export any kinds of materials that include rare earths that have been touched, processed, mined by China. So this could include cars, it could include microwaves that have chips, it can include defense materials. So China has taken this action, which is quite extreme. And so President Trump obviously wants to safeguard U.S. national and economic security. And so we have to take our own countervailing action.
I want to play something about President Trump in recent days, talking positively about what was happening. Take a listen.
We have big advantages over China for lots of different reasons, and I think we're doing very well with China. I get along very well with President Xi. If those countries are hostile, and by the way, China hasn't been. We've made deals with China. President Xi was great. We're doing very well, as you know, with the trade deals. We're doing very well with China, and great respect for President Xi.
So what happened? I mean, you've met with the Chinese. Treasury Secretary Bessent has met with the Chinese, came out of the last meeting suggesting that there was significant progress. Why the change?
That's exactly right, Brett. For the past 6 months, well, just to go back a little bit, 6 months ago, China took an action like this with respect to rare earth magnets. And over the past 6 months, we've been quite successful in securing the regular flow of those magnets to China. We've managed to have a fragile truce with China with respect to tariffs, where we continue to have high tariffs on China, but we're able to talk to them and have great communication. This action that recently happened, I mean, listen, China, negotiating with China is not like playing patty cake. On the one hand, they have a meeting with President Trump coming up, or they had one coming up, and on the other hand, they truly seek to acquire domination over global technology supply chains. This is a move clearly that they had in their pocket for a long time, and they thought that it was an appropriate time to deploy it before this meeting, and I think they've really miscalculated what they've done here.
There's a lot of, obviously the markets were really spooked by this today. There are a lot of businesses, there are farmers about soybeans, there are all kinds of different things that hinge on China and the U.S. and the established trade agreements. Who has the leverage here? Is it the rare earth minerals hinge, or is it our ability to sell or not sell chips to China or technology to China? Where is the leverage here about getting to a deal?
Well, first of all, I would say that China's economy is floating on the idea that they can continue to produce and export huge amounts of excess capacity, frankly, of manufactured goods and send them to overseas markets. The United States is the #1 consumer, the #1 importer. We are the dumping ground for Chinese goods. And so that is huge leverage. In fact, this is why they came to the negotiating table back in May the first time, is when we had very high tariffs on them. It's actually not our desire to do that. Our desire is to have a healthy, balanced trading relationship with China that's fair, but it's a rocky road getting to that. You know, we have a market. They have a government that's running the economy of their country. We have a free market, and for them it's a government. Yeah.
I mentioned soybeans. You met with the Farm Bureau yesterday to talk soybeans and more. There's real panic over the loss of Chinese buyers. Where is the U.S. on that issue for farmers?
Sure. So one of the things that we're doing, which is so important, is we're opening foreign market access in additional countries. For example, Vietnam has already lowered its tariffs on soybeans. Cambodia has lowered its tariffs on soybeans. We're in talks with several other Asian nations to do that. We're also talking within the White House about domestic uses for soybeans. The challenge is when China takes actions like this, it uses economic coercion to try to influence American politics.
All right, guys. So there was a few news clippings and breakdown from the talking heads on the Trump tariff trade war going on with China. Now, again, this is very significant, and it's going to be fuel to the flame that has caused all these mass liquidations in crypto. But at the same time, we can't forget where we are at. We can't forget what we are looking at, and we cannot forget to zoom out on the charts and not get so emotional, right? Because this right here is exactly where they play on our emotions. They expect you to sell. They expect you to panic, to be fearful, and to lose money. Now, what they do not expect is you to already be expecting all of these things. So this is where you can leverage yourself against market crashes like this. Leverage yourself against falling for this trap, okay? And by trap, what do I mean by trap? Well, in my opinion, of course, not financial advice, this is exactly the perfect example of a massive trap. Massive bear trap. Think about how quickly we have already recovered, right? How quickly we have already recovered. So it is a massive, massive trap. And we cannot be falling for traps like this. Now, guys, thank you for being here. Thank you for joining us and for sticking through the meat of the stream. Now let's get into the TA and the Q&A. Again, I do appreciate each and every one of you guys that have showed up today and spent your valuable time with me, as I do consider time the most valuable asset we have. Now, let's go ahead and set us up here for Q&A session and TA. Let's see if we can't formulate some price targets here and possibly check on some trade setups. We could look at Bitcoin, Ethereum, Dogecoin. We will take a look at Solana. And if you guys have a coin you'd like me to check out, drop it in the chat. I will be pulling the chat up here keeping an eye on you guys, man. I got to keep an eye on you guys. I got to keep an eye on my people and make sure we're okay. Now, let me get into the chat because you know what? You guys have been showing out for me, and I have not been in the chat yet. So let's do it. And again, thank you for being here and supporting the channel. It sure does mean a lot to me, my friends. Now, let's go ahead and get this set up over here. Perfect. All right, guys. So, again, thank you all for showing up. Calvin Federin, good to see you. Thank you for being here. Ascending Bull, what is going on, man? Welcome back. Good to see you as well. Bite Bandit, thank you for commenting in the chat today. Crypto Scotty 49, I hope that things take a turn for the better for you and for all of us that have lost any money in this wild crypto market crash. Carl Carlson, oh golly, that fall was rough. Sure was. Thank you for being here. Thank you for engaging and commenting in the chat. And thank you guys for answering this poll. Is the bear market here? Are we entering the bear market? You know what? We have 42 votes on this poll, which is not as many as we got on our poll from the previous stream, but 57% say no, the bear market is not here. Which is a good sign, right? We still are holding a little bit of sentiment, I see. Deadwood, I really appreciate you, and Green Fingers as well for showing up as always. Ty Stu, good to see you, my friend. China, yes, China. China is the one today. Now, Bitcoin right now, 15-minute time frame. We are consolidating after this massive recovery from the low of 103 here on the Coinbase chart. However, we did go as low as 102 on other exchanges, and possibly even lower than that. I have not seen, but I do know the lowest I've seen was 102K. Now, guys, if you could, smash the like on the way in and subscribe to the channel if you are new. Thank you for being here. We're going to get into what is going on. Can we even chart this, right? Are we going to be able to chart this? Or what can we do here? Ty Stu said, appreciate the Saturday streaming, bro. Man, I appreciate you for being here on Saturday. And yes, this is unusual because typically I have the little one every weekend. So it's hard for me to go live on the weekends, but hey, we're here and we're doing it. Now, we are under pressure. Pressure, baby. Pressure. We are under pressure. 30-minute wedge right here. 30-minute wedge. Which way are we going to pop, guys? Which way is it going to pop? Talk about a squeeze, man. You are squeezing. Let's go down. Let's take a look at it. Oh, yeah, you are squeezing here, guys. This is coming soon for Bitcoin on the 30-minute. We are going to see okay, 200 EMA on the 30-minute would give us a nice run on this measure move. Now, can we pop? Can Bitcoin pop up to the upside and recover slightly here on the weekend? On a Saturday, can we run up on the 30-minute testing the 200 EMA? Or is it more likely that we have more downside? You know, we are right here centered on this breakout. And guys, when I say breakout, I'm not kidding. I would expect us not to keep going, not to keep consolidating sideways on here based on the higher lows, lower highs, squeezing in to the tip of this triangle. Typically, we're going to see a breakout. No more sideways stepping here. Now, could we still step? We could still step, but I'm thinking we get a move soon from this. Could we see it on the weekend? So Bitcoin are right now on the 30-minute. We are slightly below the 50 EMA and the LSMA. We can go back and we can kind of look at a previous drop. We can kind of get an idea based on the indicator. Until we see Bitcoin on the hourly, until we see Bitcoin switch here, like this indicator did here, until we can get a nice flip here, then, you know, the trend is going to be bearish. You know, typically we do get a bounce back up to this indicator once it starts really getting spread out. Once it's really spread out there, we typically will get a bounce back up to retest it here. And so the bottom of this indicator on the hourly Bitcoin chart is right at $115,600, $115,800. So key level to watch there on a bounce. Now, where does Bitcoin need to go to keep us from experiencing more pain? Where is that support level? What is the key support level that Bitcoin is going to need to hold? And this is when we need to zoom out and take a look at longer term time frames. Daily chart, again, guys, we are still okay. I know it might not seem like we're okay. Altcoins got decimated. Altcoins got absolutely pulverized. But if we zoom out and we look at the daily, weekly time frames for Bitcoin, then we can absolutely see that at this very moment we are okay. The recovery that we have experienced so far, that Bitcoin has experienced, has gotten Bitcoin back above the 200-day moving average, right? We're back above the 200-day EMA. And if we go back and look at the 200-day moving average back here, basically your 200-day moving average is your bull market support. Okay, well, I say that, but we actually go below it. So there would be something else to look at here, which typically is just a back test or retest of the previous high. I mean, you can see that here, right? Previous high, pulled back to the previous high and then bounced. So, as of right now, obviously we didn't go too far above the previous high yet. And on this pullback, we have just came down and back tested previous highs and previous support actually. Lots of previous support right here where Bitcoin pulled back to. You know, that support at 102, 103K, 105K, right there at $100,000 to $105,000 Bitcoin. That key support could be enough to keep us from going into a bear market yet. I personally, in my opinion, do not think we're going into a bear market yet. And I know that that's being talked about. I know there's a lot of people screaming bear market right now. Me personally, I don't agree. And based off the technicals, based off the price action, based off of everything everything else that we have to look forward to as well. The crypto bill, the major crypto bill, not the Genius Act, but the next piece of legislation pushing through, or the next piece of crypto legislation pushing through, has been put on delay, right? And while that is temporarily a bad thing, that gives us more bullish catalysts to look forward to going forward and going into the rest of quarter 4 of 2025 and quarter 1 of 2026. So even though currently it is a very painful scene, there's blood in the streets, and it is a very painful scene right now. Yes, this is true, but there is no bear market confirmation yet, right? There is nothing indicating that we should be expecting a bear market. When you zoom out, the only thing that looks like could happen here, in my opinion, right now, is something similar to what's happened before on these corrections, right? And if you think about it, I mean, the correction that we had in January of this year, that correction went all the way until April. Okay, this correction was a little mini bear market in itself, right? This is a little mini bear market in itself. I mean, we literally dropped from the high to the low 31%, guys, in a matter of a few months. So even if we had a similar drop from the $126,200 high, at this point, if we had a similar drop to this, it would come back and test this previous area where we broke to the upside. Now would a 30% drop in the price of Bitcoin from the recent high, could a 30% drop in the Bitcoin price, could it bring us down to $85,000, $86,000? If we experienced a drop like this, that is when I might be a little more concerned, right? I'm not as concerned right now with the flash crash due to the tariffs news, right? I mean, we obviously know that this crash was due almost entirely due to news related to tariffs. Once all of this settles, now that is, expecting it to actually settle. Once it settles and these fears fade away, market recovers, the price recovers, and we should be okay. The only scenario where we're not going to be okay, guys, going into the end of 2025, the only scenario is if this does not settle, is if something doesn't take place that gives investors and traders a little more confidence in the fact that we aren't going to go into some type of all-out recession, trade war, So we need the confidence. We need the trader confidence, the investor confidence. And right now it's weak. Right now the confidence is very weak. A lot of people experienced losses for the first time. People that have just gotten into crypto this year or last year. A lot of people probably experienced the quickest drop in and the quickest loss they've ever experienced. So, the emotions and tensions are very high right now. Chad, welcome to the stream. Thank you for commenting and engaging there. Zcash is moving, not weak. Yes, we've been talking about Zcash here on the channel, and I completely, I don't understand, and I feel like Zcash has performed this way in prior markets, and I am only hoping that I almost have some type of nostalgic memory of a previous cycle where we were going into the bear market and coins like Zcash and other coins actually dominated. And, I'm hoping that, that's just some kind of weird memory that I'm mixing up, but I can't bring myself to sell yet. I can't bring myself to sell my crypto here. Are you selling your crypto? Are you going to panic sell? Are you going to sell this dip? First of all, don't sell the dip. You buy the dip. You don't sell the dip. You buy the dip. But this it's been a detrimental experience for a lot of people. Green fingers, I am not saying we're going into a bear market, but I am saying that if we, let's go to the weekly though, real quick. Hold on. Now, if we're talking about the bear market here, I'm going to just say it. You guys remember my chart here, right? You guys remember this chart? Now, this chart is telling us that we are nowhere close to the bear market just yet. For one, in order for us to be going into a bear market, we are going to have to be paying attention to certain things here. Certain things that have always happened, certain things that are still the trend, right? Again, the trend is your friend until it's not. Show me the charts, I'll tell you the news, right? It's I've been in crypto since 2018 and these sayings have never failed. Okay. Same with buy the rumor, sell the news. I mean, there's just some things in crypto trading that you really just need to just listen and go with. It's kind of like your intuition. There are some things you just need to go with. And the trend is your friend is one of them. Okay. We can look here on this chart. Guys, I've had this chart. This is a similar chart to a chart you've probably already seen before, but this is my version of this chart, okay? A lot of traders, a lot of investors, a lot of crypto analysts have talked a lot about the Bitcoin liquid index chart, right? This a lot of people call it the rainbow chart. We talk about the rainbow chart and things like this. Well, Guys, this chart has, I've used this chart and these very few indicators to determine the cycle tops and bottoms for each cycle that I have been through in crypto. And it is very plain to see that we are not at the end of this bull market yet, guys. This is literally a trap. Do not fall for the trap, people. If you are new to crypto, if you have only been in crypto for a year or 2 years, you are still a very, very fresh person in crypto. I have been in crypto for, gosh, going on 7 years now? I have been in crypto for a long time, and of course, at the beginning, I was not able to really capitalize on the opportunity I had in front of me. I was in crypto at the perfect time, but unfortunately, I was not already wealthy enough to drop the amount of money I should have been dropping in 2018, right? Now, I was buying crypto in 2018. Yes, I profited. I did nice. I did good. But damn it, I could have done a lot better. You know what I'm saying? And I'm grateful, though. I'm extremely grateful just for the fact that I was able to get into crypto and learn about crypto pre-2020. You know, it's a significant thing. Timing is so important. But very good point, actually. Timing is so important. And this is a very good example right here in front of us. Why timing is so important and why you should not fall for this trap. Timing of the markets, while nobody can actually accurately time the market, you can absolutely 100% leverage yourself for good by learning how to analyze the charts, learning how to analyze price action, determine support and resistance levels, key liquidity levels, areas of the price that you know are going to be tested. And once you have done this for many years, it gets to the point where you can literally look at the chart and you can be extremely confident in your price targets. And there will come a time when you will be confident enough that moments like this will not shake you. Moments like this will not break you. Moments like this will make you. And you are close. You are very close. If you are still here right now, if you are not one of these people that are on X right now in the comment section of every influencer's post bashing and hating and screaming hateful things and just emotional, you're just an emotional wreck. As long as you are not one of those people right now, then you are on your way. You are on your way to being able to confidently walk away from this turmoil without panic selling, without losing all of your money, because you are holding and you're confident in your analysis. You're looking at the chart and you say, you know what? I will not fall for this trap. They want me to sell. They want me to panic. They want me to give up on crypto right here. And I refuse. I will not do it. Now, what does this mean? What am I talking about? What am I even talking about, right? Yeah, I get it. I know. Some people might think, well, what the hell? Why are we watching the news then? Let's watch the charts. Because the news is good. People want to know the news, right? People want to listen to the talking heads, and we will give them that here on the channel, right? We will give them that. People want to listen to the news and watch the talking heads, and you know, I don't necessarily agree with it. I watch the talking heads only enough to get a few valid points, and then we move on and we get into the charts. We get into the price action. We get into the meat, right? We get into the meat. Because why? That's right. You only live once, man. Nobody's got time for that. So that's what I'm talking about, man. The meat. The meat, bro. I just realized. I totally didn't realize. I have not checked these. But yes, here we go. This is what we need to be right now. Okay. Okay. You see that? That is what you need to be right now. Don't get shaken out. Don't get shaken out. Now, again, what am I talking about here? Let's actually go in here and explain this. Okay, so for example, first of all, people are screaming bear market, and all we have done on the weekly, I mean, look, we have not even came down to test the indicator. See here and here, right? Each time we have corrected on this bull run here, this is a bull market, right? We are in a bull market. Ever since 15K Bitcoin, we have been in a bull market. Okay, 15K was the bottom of the bear cycle. This is the bull cycle, right? Well, each time we've had a correction so far in this bull cycle, and let me just go ahead and point this out real quick. Each time we have had a correction, we came down to where? The top of this indicator. Almost perfectly. Okay, so where is that indicator at now? Well, guys, that indicator currently on this chart is showing at $95,300. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and pull up the weekly chart over here on this chart. And it looks as though, so let's compare the two charts here. So now if we're looking at the liquid index, of course you guys know that this that the liquid index is, slightly delayed some. But if we look at these two and we compare where we should expect the price action to go, it should be around $95,300 to $100,000. More specifically, though, I'm thinking 95. So when we look over here, I'm going to go ahead and put the indicator has moved up slightly, but I still am looking at 95,000. Give or take right here. $95,000 to $100,000 Bitcoin is going to be my go-to to keep us out of the bear market. So we can go as low as $95,000 in my opinion. $95,800, $95,500, give or take. We can go down as low as that price level and still be okay. And, honestly, when you look at what's going on here, right? When you look at the LSMA, which is that blue moving average, of course, we all know the blue moving average here that I have in my chart. We look at this, and what are we doing right now? We are trading below it, right? Just like we did each time here on the weekly. Same thing now, trading below it. A bounce back up to test the LSMA near 120,000 is likely, in my opinion, from here. We are testing the 50-week EMA. If we hold the 50-week EMA, we should get a little short-term dead cat bounce up to test the LSMA around 119,500 to 120,000. Get rejected there likely as we just crossed the LSMA. So it's likely we get rejected there. And then come on down to test this indicator. Just like we did here and here. We're going to need that third test, it looks like to me. When you look at the weekly time frame and the LSMA, and you look at the MACD, right? And you look at the MACD, I mean, we can obviously see it makes too much sense. Honestly, I think I'm on to something, guys. And I don't know, you know, I'm sure that other people are talking about some of the similar things that I'm talking about. You know, as crypto analysts and traders, we are all analyzing the same chart, right? Remember, we're all analyzing the same chart, which means sometimes we all might get some of the same things kind of on, you know, similar. But this is still all original TA, and this is all based off of, you know, what I believe we should be expecting to happen coming up here in the next coming weeks, in the next few weeks. Now, what I think could happen that would keep October bullish, right? Well, it would keep not bullish, but it would keep the month of October anyways, the monthly candle of October, to keep it green. We get a little 2-week pump to test the LSMA up here. A little 2-week pump to test the LSMA. That would fill in the month of October, keep the month of October green, right? And then we get rejected at the LSMA at the end of this month, and we go into November. And then November flips, and we come all the way down to 95, you know, that's when we get bearish. November, December. Let's go to the monthly. Okay, so again, this is still the month of August, right? So the Bitcoin Liquid Index is delayed, right? So our first little move down to the 50-month EMA, back here. Each time, look, 50-month EMA also. 50-month came very close to testing it each time. You know, we have not dipped down on this chart yet to reflect the current crash. And when we do, the candles will reflect down to here. 102K. Now, something to point out here that's pretty significant. At 102K, so where we actually dipped to on the Bitcoin Liquid Index chart is these previous monthly candle closes. That's actually where the price of Bitcoin landed on that crash, right on the top of these previous monthly candle closes. And we bounced hard off of that. So I am still going to stick by what I believe here on the weekly time frame. And we can go here to the weekly as well to see that it's already played out. So we can look at the Bitcoin Liquid Index, right? Analyze the Bitcoin Liquid Index on the weekly. And we can compare here to see it's already following suit, right? So it's already following suit. Look at this on the weekly. How we already came up and tested the LSMA. So what I am talking about here has already happened. We've already bounced here and tested the LSMA and got rejected. And that caused this crash. Look. We came up above the LSMA slightly here on these weekly candles, but could not stay above the LSMA. This reminds me of something in the past too that I do not like, but We have not confirmed anything yet, so I will not go there. Now, we are now currently at $111,000 above the 50-week EMA. We have 1 day left on this weekly candle, guys. 1 day and 5 hours. If Bitcoin can hold and close the weekly candle above the 50-week EMA, I say we pump. I say we pump. If we close this weekly candle below the 50-week EMA, I say we come down to test my target here of $95,000 to $100,000. And I do think that this $95,000 to $100,000 range is going to be seriously critical to keeping us from going into an all-out bear market. I do believe that will be the one. A correction like this is okay. We've had it here back in March of 2024. We hit a peak. We didn't hit the low on the top of the indicator until September 2024. We ran. January 2025, we hit our peak. Came on down to the top of the indicator once again. Indicator never failing us here. In April of 2025, bounced, and now we have found our next peak. Okay, so our next peak was our recent high of $126,200. The only logical thing here to expect is a test of this indicator. And so I don't think, again, if we hold the 50-week EMA, if Bitcoin closes here in 1 day and 5 hours, closes this weekly candle above the 50-week EMA, then yes, a short-term recovery bounce is likely, in my opinion, as the 50-week EMA will hold support and give us nice support. If we lose the 50-week EMA on that candle close, then 95 to 100K is coming. Holding $95,000 is going to be seriously important. Keep a close eye on $95,000 Bitcoin, guys. Absolutely, 100%. And we can refer back to these charts. We will take a look at these again in the future. But guess what? I still think 200K is in play. Unless we come all the way down there's just no way. There's no way, guys. You know, if you think about it, every single bull market top, every single bull cycle top clipped this parabolic trend. Okay, the parabolic trend or parabolic curve since Bitcoin's inception. Okay, and every cycle top, every single cycle top in the past 10 years or more, in the past decade, every cycle top has hit this trend line. Look at where we are currently at, folks, in regards to this trend line, right? Nowhere close. Nowhere close. Now, just because it has done this every time before, does that mean it needs to do it again? No, of course not. I understand that, but I still go by the trend is your friend until it's not. And until we do not come up here and tap this line, that is where we should be looking at and expecting the price to go. And that's where most investors and traders are also looking at and expecting the price to go. I mean, if you think about it, guys, we are just barely above the previous cycle top. Look at where we're at. So let's think about that real quick. If we measure that, so from the previous cycle top to where we're at now, or the most recent high of 126K, look at this. Let's take that over to the previous cycle, folks. Look at this. About halfway up the previous parabolic bull cycle run, right? Again, I've mentioned this plenty of times. I still don't think we've had a parabolic run like we should be expecting. right? We have not had a parabolic bull run yet. We've had good, healthy stair-stepped run-ups, consolidations, corrections, run-up, consolidate, correct, run-up. Good, healthy price action, good, healthy price structure going on, right? But we have not had our parabolic run, so there's no way we get a blow-off top yet. Everybody's freaking out, man. We need to stop freaking out because look at this. Again, let me look at this, okay? From the previous cycle high to the most recent high of 126K was an 83% move, okay? Now, the previous bull market was 300%. 300% move from previous cycle high. The bull market before that, from the previous cycle high to the next cycle top, was a 1,500% move. So, of course, should we expect this move to be to follow the trend, right? Previous cycle move from previous highs was 6,900% move. Of course, Bitcoin was down around $28 back then. But this was a 6,900% move in one of Bitcoin's very first bull markets, right? Where it ran from $17 all the way to $1,100. Again, the next bull market from previous highs was 1,500% gains. The next bull market here in 2020, 2021 was 319% gains from the previous high. So, right now, I am expecting us to follow suit, okay? And yes, I don't expect us to have another 300% run from our previous high. I don't expect us to have a 300% run because that wouldn't follow with the trend. The trend has shown that each cycle we have, in regards to percentage, it gets lower. It gets lower each cycle, right? 1,500% to 300%. I'm expecting at least 100 to 150% from previous high. Okay, this would line up with the trend. And so if we go to a 100 to 150% move, that would still not get us to the trend line, but I would say 150 would be the conservative. 200% would get us from previous cycle top, 200% move from there would get us to the trend line. So I'm looking at this, and you guys can just take it for what it is. Tell me what you guys think, but this is my opinion. And the fact that in regards to this, currently, if we take where we are at currently from the previous cycle top and put it down here, look at that. That really puts it into perspective, does it not? Look at that. We are just halfway through what should be considered the bull market. Halfway. And with that being said, should we expect the bull run to go into quarter one, quarter two of 2026? As we've all been talking about already. So I am not convinced. I will not be convinced that we're going into a bear market. There is no bear market yet. The only thing that would put us into a bear market, in my opinion, would be if on the weekly we seen the price fall and close and stay down in the body of this indicator right here. We bounced here. We bounced in September 2024. We bounced in March 2025. April 2025. Can we come back down again and bounce 6 months later? Right? We had a 6-month run, guys. 6-month run. Can we come down 6 months later and bounce in October, November? Victor said, mate, shut up. Victor, you know, if you don't want to listen to what I have to say, you don't have to be here, bud. But I love it. Thanks for commenting in the chat. Deadwood said if we sink to stonks, then it's a 5.4 cycle. No? Not sure I know what you mean by that. What we saying push up to 120K before drop to 95K. Sorry, just joined. Callie Marley, welcome back to the channel. Good to see you. Thank you for being here. And yes, you know, a push up to 120K in rejection could be likely. It's very good to be cautious here. You know, I'm not going to be trading this until we get some sort of clarity on what's going on, and of course see some type of stability and stabilization in the price action here. Now, spot trading, buying these dips, in my opinion, is obviously going to be a good idea. Like, in my opinion, of course. Now we go into a bear market, that idea is going to change, right? But as of right now, I can't trust that candle, man. We cannot trust a weekly candle that it was fueled by news-related, you know, macroeconomic. You know, we're talking about tariffs. We're talking about a trade war that, you know, this is not something that we should be letting determine our outlook for the next, you know, year or 6 months, in my opinion. Not yet. We have not seen or even had any confirmation of what's going to happen. And I guess that confusion and underlying uncertainty is a driving force and factor in traders and investors selling off and, you know, being cautious, right? Manage your risk. You'll be okay. Manage your risk. Do not put all of your money on exchanges, right? Only put what you're trading with and willing to lose on the exchange, and keep the rest in self-custody. And don't fall for the traps. Don't panic sell in a giant ass wick like this, you know? Don't do that. Just don't do that. A big thing too is the Fed Chair Powell speech coming. Okay, guys, that is literally coming in 3 days. 3 days. Now, what are the odds that we're going to time this like this, you know? What are the odds that we have the Fed Chair Powell speech coming up 3 days after Trump announces tariffs on China and the entire crypto market and altcoin market gets crushed? And 3 days later, we have a speech from Fed Chair Powell. Will Powell, I mean, gosh, this could be a storm, guys. It could be a bad storm, depending on what happens at the Fed Chair Powell speech, depending on his tone, right? Depending on Jerome Powell's tone during this speech in 3 days, could this be the perfect storm for the bear market? It all depends. It's all, you know, for an asset class that takes pride in being decentralized and has always been one of its major appeals. You know, the reason crypto has been so appealing to people is its decentralized nature. For it to be so decentralized, it sure is sensitive. It is a sensitive market, a volatile market, and a risky market. But I can't help but think that, you know, our fate, I can't help but think that our fate lies in this right here. Okay? Gosh, Solana losing 180 right now. 53 votes on the poll in the chat. And it looks like we are at still looking good. We are still holding solid, folks. Everybody seems to be, the sentiment is still good. You know, we still have decent sentiment here in the chat. And, you know, I'm with you guys, man. I am with you guys, because we can't just freak out. And, you know, when these things happen, that's exactly what they want. They want you to get emotional. They want you to panic. We can't do that. I'm not going to lie. I panicked a little bit at first. I did. I panicked a little bit. I started seeing Dogecoin just lose like 3 cents at a time in like 1 minute candles. it got pretty vicious there for a while. I thought, oh my gosh, what is going on? I mean, it reminded me of FTX and Luna, and it reminded me of a lot of things. Celsius, it reminded me of a lot of things, and I got a little bit emotional. I panicked just a little bit there at the beginning until I realized there was nothing I could do. I panicked a little bit until I realized, what? I can't. What am I going to do? What am I going to do? Panic and hurry up and go in and sell, and by the time I sell, I'm selling at the end of a wick. No. So, I quickly I gathered myself and realized what was happening. And that's when I knew what I had to do. I had to get on here and do a live stream. That's what I had to do. And that's what we did. Yesterday, we had a very good turnout and a very good live stream. But, this is going to be a big thing. I will do my best, guys. I should be no reason why I can't cover this. That's coming up on the 14th. So, should be no reason. Yeah. What is that, on a Tuesday? I think it's on a Tuesday. Should be no reason I shouldn't be able to cover that at all. So we'll make sure and cover that and take a look at what's going on. But again, guys, it's been a good stream. Been a good stream. I appreciate you guys showing up. Thank you guys for being here. Crypto Scotty just took a long on Solana. Let's go. Let's go, bro. Let's go. That's what I'm talking about. Scared money don't make no money, right? Man, I appreciate y'all in the chat. Always showing up and showing out for me, guys. I appreciate y'all very much. Each of you. Each of you guys, man. Thank you all for showing up and being here today. I know it's not easy. I know it's tough when the market's down like this. I know that things aren't ideal right now, but we're going to be okay. We are going to be okay. Wag me all day long, baby. We are going to be okay. We are going to make it. Thank you, guys. I will see y'all in the next one.
Wow, this is incredible. Driving through the future.